This is Lesson 10.1, Modeling and Writing Expressions. Our essential question is, how can you model and write algebraic expressions? This lesson has a lot of notes, so I want you to make sure that you set your notes up just like I have mine in my notebook. I want you to start with a word definition example chart, and please make sure you get all of this down because it's very important. Our first word is algebraic expression. That is an expression that contains one or more variables and an operation, like plus, minus, times, or divided by. These are all examples of algebraic expressions. A variable is a letter or symbol used to represent an unknown number. So whenever we're talking about unknown numbers, we used to just draw a box or a question mark, but instead of that box or question mark, now we're going to actually use a letter of the alphabet. And it doesn't matter which letter we use. It could be X, A, B, Z, Q, it doesn't matter. If you see a letter, that's an unknown number. Next, we have the word constant, and that is a specific number whose value doesn't change because the number is all by itself. Here's an example. 150 plus X. 150 is the constant because it's just there by itself, and X is the variable because that's the letter that represents a number. One thing I want you to note, and I had some of you ask me this question when you were doing your iReady assessment, so it's important to note this. In algebraic expressions, multiplication and division are usually written without the symbols, the times symbol and the divided by symbol. So you won't really see the times symbol much anymore once you start working with algebra or the division symbol. So if I were to see something like 3 times n, I would actually see it as 3n. The 3 and the n beside each other actually mean to multiply by each other. You might also see 3 times n represented with a dot, or n times 3. They all mean the same thing. And with division, you typically won't see this division symbol anymore. You'll see it written as a fraction. Okay, so for this next part of our notes, and we've done something similar to this at the beginning of the year, but I want you guys to make sure you have these specific words, is we're going to look at some vocabulary words that mean addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So I'm going to zoom out so you can see my whole chart. If you want to, you can click pause and then copy it and then click play. These are all the words we may see that mean addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. All right, let's move down to our examples. So when we do this unit, what we're actually going to be doing is translating translating phrases or sentences into algebraic expressions. So kind of like turning words into math. So here's our first example, and with your examples, please make sure you copy all of these down in your notes so you can use them later for future reference. So the first one says, the sum of 7 and x. So if I don't know what the word sum means, I can look up here in my chart and I find that sum is right over here, which means addition. So the way that I do this is I always kind of translate it above it. I know sum means addition, and I'm adding 7 and x. So those are the 3 things that I need. So to translate this, I would write 7 plus x. I could also write x plus 7 because those mean the exact same thing because it's addition. Next, we have the quotient of z, and I'm going to draw a little line through it so you know it's a z and not a 2. The quotient of z and 3. Quotient is our key word here. That means divide, and we're dividing z and 3. So the way we would write that is we would write it as a fraction, because remember, fractions just mean divide, and it would be like that, z divided by 3. Okay, so here are 6 more of these, and here's what I challenge you to do. I challenge you to click pause, try these on your own, and then click play and see if you got it right. And I'm just going to go ahead and tell you number 6 is tricky, but I want you guys to try it and see what you get. All right, for number 3, n times 7, you should write that like this. You might have also written it with the dot, but typically we write the number first and then the variable beside it. 4 minus y would look like this. 13 added to x would look like this. This is the tricky one, 2 less than t. You might have written this, but that would be wrong because the 2 is less than t. So we have to write the t first. So sometimes with subtraction, it's tricky and you have to make sure you remember which one comes first. The quotient of z and 5 and 9 more than y. All right. So now we're going to do the same thing, but I'm going to give you the expression, and I want you to write the phrase that goes with it. So when I see 11 right beside x, remember that means they're being multiplied. So I would write 11 times x. So I'm just going to go in the opposite direction this time. Here I have 8 minus y. So I'm just writing out in words what these expressions say. And again, I encourage you to click pause, try these next ones on your own, and then click play and see if you got them right. Okay, for number 11, I would have said the quotient of x and 12. I would have said here 10 times y. Here I could have said c plus 3. I might have said c more than 3. So that's okay too. There might be more than one way to write it. And finally I have 5 plus y. Or I could have said 5 added to y, 5 more than y, either way. So now I'm going to show you what this looks like in terms of a word problem. And these word problems are kind of long. So if you want to, in your notes, instead of copying the whole word problem, you can always just copy the first word or words in the word problem and then use those to refer to later if you need to. So we have Anaya and Andrew started the day with the same amount of money. Anaya spent $5 on lunch and Andrew spent $3 on lunch and $2 on a snack. Do they have the same amount of money left? Now this problem is probably going to seem fairly simple to you, and that's okay. What I'm wanting you to understand is how to compare one expression to another. So we have Anaya, and I'm just going to put, Anaya's got $5 here. That's going to be Anaya. And then this is going to be Andrew. I'll give him a little bit of a curl there. He's got $3 plus $2. So when I look at these things, the question says, do they have the same amount of money left? So if she spent 5 and he spent 5, then yes, they have the same amount left. So let's try another one of those. And if you want to refer to this one in your notes, you can just write down the word math quiz, and then we'll go back to that. It says Travis scored 3 points more than Jocelyn. Jesse scored 2 points more than Jocelyn and earned 2 points more in extra credit. Did Travis and Jesse make the same grade on the quiz? Explain. So anytime I have these problems that have multiple people, I actually have to draw it out. So I've got Travis here, and he got 3 plus Jocelyn. So I know Travis is 3 plus Jocelyn. And then I have Jesse, who scored 2 plus Jocelyn and earned 2 points extra credit. Now this is a classic example here. I don't know how much Jocelyn got. So what I'm going to call that is my variable. So Travis would be 3 plus Jocelyn, and Jesse would actually be 4 plus Jocelyn. So it said, did Travis and Jesse make the same grade on the quiz? The answer would be no, because we can see here, this is my explanation, that Jesse is going to have 1 more point than Travis. Okay, let's try our last 2 word problems. Tickets to the water park cost $53 per person. Write an expression to show the total cost for a group of people. So a group of people is going to be more than one person. So if I know it's 53 per person, this is actually going to be my variable. So to write this as an expression, I would write 53x. And I could use that to figure out what the cost would be for 10 people. I could just say 53 times 10. For 20 people, 53 times 20. For 5 people, and so on. So I'm going to be writing these expressions, and then later we're going to be evaluating them. Next we have 18 and 19, and I'm going to zoom out because these are two great you try problems. And then you can click play and see if you got them right. Giovanni has some savings. After babysitting, he adds $75 to his savings. How much money has he saved? So we don't know what his savings is, but we do know that he added 75 to it. So I would write that 75 plus X. Yamilet divides up some money to give equally to her 4 nieces. If she represents the total amount, I think that was supposed to say, if D represents the total amount, write an expression to represent how much money each niece receives. So D is her total amount, and we divide it by 4 nieces. So we write it just like that. All right, guys, good luck.